In 1980, IBM was the most valuable company in the world. 13 years later, it was close to bankruptcy. But IBM is still here, and in some areas still leading. So the question is, how can a company survive every major technology shift for over a century? I worked 17 years at IBM in sales and leadership, and I believe it comes down to 4 truths. The first, innovation that transforms industries. IBM understood one thing very early. Technology leadership requires long-term investment in research. So IBM built labs around the world with one clear goal: solve real-world problems that matter. This strategy led to breakthroughs that reshaped entire industries. Let me show you 3 examples. The first was the start of real-time computing. In 1956, IBM introduced the IBM 305 RAMAC, the first computer with a hard disk drive. It could store 5 megabytes of data. At that time, this was huge. Today, it's about the size of a single photo on your smartphone. But storage wasn't the real breakthrough. It was access, respectively, how fast you could access the data. Before RAMAC, data had to be accessed sequentially, punch card by punch card, or meter by meter on a tape. On this picture, you see 60,000 punch cards. That's the amount of data that could be stored on such a first hard disk. What used to take hours now took seconds. This was the birth of real-time computing. The second example revolutionized retail, the invention of the barcode, 1973. The first scan happened 1974 in a supermarket in Ohio. Today, more than 5 billion scans are executed every day. It looks like a small invention, but it quietly transformed an entire industry. But IBM didn't stop at industry. In 1981, IBM researchers built a microscope that made atoms visible. For the first time, they could see atoms and move them, such as when they built the smallest company logo in the world on this picture. This breakthrough opened the door to nanotechnology and won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1986. And a year later, another Nobel Prize in the same research lab in Zurich, Switzerland. This time it was for superconductivity. For the first time, electricity could flow without resistance. Zero energy loss. These are all examples of innovation that transformed industries and even science. True innovation that matters. The takeaway: breakthrough innovation requires long-term thinking and long-term investment in research. And the second truth is about product strategy. The one who controls the platform controls the value. In the company's beginning, from 1911 forward, IBM built machines. Machines that measure time, machines that measured weight, machines that counted punched cards. Each machine did one thing, and IBM dominated these markets for decades, especially the punch cards that very soon became the top priority for IBM in the first half of the 20th century. But then IBM made a fundamental shift. In 1964, IBM introduced the System 360, and for the first time, computers became a scalable platform. With other words, the same operating system and applications could now run on machines of different sizes and different generations. Before that, if you had a computer and you needed an upgrade, it meant to restart from scratch. You had to rewrite everything, which was time-consuming, expensive, and very painful. That's why the System 360 was such a monumental success for decades and is still highly successful today under the latest generation and the brand IBM set, because they are extremely reliable, secure, and highly redundant. For customers, this means investment protection and a clear long-term technology roadmap. And for IBM, it means something even bigger: platform control. Historically, the launch of System 360 is often compared to the launch of 2 other industry-defining platforms, the IBM PC as well as Apple's iPhone. What System 360 and iPhone have in common? They are both vertically integrated platforms. Hardware, software, and ecosystem all controlled by one company. The IBM PC was different. IBM didn't invent the personal computer. Apple and other players were already in the market. But IBM did something important. They standardized the personal computer for business and made it the industry standard. The IBM PC was a huge global success, but the problem to IBM was it wasn't entirely built by IBM. Effectively, the operating system was owned by Microsoft, and the CPU was owned by Intel. With other words, more and more competitors started to build so-called IBM-compatible computers, also running with a Microsoft operating system, also running with an Intel CPU. IBM had set the standard, but Microsoft and Intel had captured most of the value and grew bigger and bigger. IBM had created the platform but didn't control the key layers, and that's how they lost platform control. But IBM learned. In 2019, IBM launched the Quantum One, the first commercially available quantum computer in the market, all out of one hand, a vertically integrated platform. The takeaway is this: the one who controls the platform controls the value. IBM learned it twice, with the highly successful System 360 and with the IBM PC the hard way. And the third thing that made IBM strong has to do with people. A company culture that built a century. If I had to summarize IBM's culture in 3 words, it would be respect, values, and excellence. Its culture was massively shaped by Thomas J. Watson, a visionary long-term CEO who led the company from 1914 until 1956 for 42 years. He believed in the value of people and bringing out the best in every person. That's how respect for the individual became a key pillar of IBM's corporate culture. He built a customer-first, service-oriented company and encouraged people to think differently and dare to try out new things. The kind of people IBM called wild ducks. If you delivered results, you could build a career, regardless of gender, skin color, or nationality. And this in the first half of the 20th century. Over time, this culture gave IBM access to an enormous pool of talent. On the one hand, IBM was a very centrally steered company. Goals were defined at the top and broken down to the different continents and business units of the company. But at the same time, employees had a say. In 2003, more than 50,000 employees brainstormed in a so-called values jam to answer one question: what should IBM stand for in the future? I was one of them. I was with the company from 2000 to 2017. The result was one purpose, 3 values, and 9 clear practices. The purpose: be essential. And the values and practices you can see here on this slide. I still have the card here, be essential. And I guarded it because I really appreciate this customer-centric, innovation-oriented, and trust-based culture. But more importantly, this wasn't just a poster on the wall. It was the way how IBM operated. But IBM is also known for its culture of excellence and high performance. Each major job category had a clear curriculum, and regular training was the norm. High performance was expected, and individual contribution was measured. And when I look at modern research on high performance today, I see many of the same principles again. My work today focuses on helping companies and individuals develop and apply the high-performance mindset and habits in a sustainable and healthy way. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out to me. You can use the QR code here or through the link in the description below. The takeaway of this section is this: if a culture is clearly defined and truly lived, it can become a competitive advantage and help to attract the right talent. And the 4th lesson is about survival, reinvent or decline. So what can we learn from IBM's history and a century full of major technology shifts? What do you think? Drop a comment. I'm curious about your perspective. What I observed is this: IBM dominated the industry for decades when it controls the platform. The absolute peak was in 1980, when IBM was the most valuable company in the world. But we also see that IBM is still here, and in some areas still leading, such as, for example, in the field of quantum computing. But in 1993, IBM nearly collapsed. It was close to bankruptcy. What happened? There are mainly 2 reasons. The first, the microprocessor revolution, driven by Intel. The invention of the microprocessor made computing cheap. and decentralized computing became a more and more affordable alternative to IBM's centralized mainframe platforms. And the second, the launch of the IBM PC. It was initially a huge success, but strategically it was a mistake. As explained earlier, IBM gave platform control to Microsoft and Intel, and they captured most of the value of the PC revolution. The consequence? IBM lost its dominance, they nearly failed, and they were surpassed by its former suppliers before the end of the century. This near-collapse situation in 1993 required bold, decisive action. A new CEO, Lou Gerstner, took over. You see him here on the picture. He made a rough cut and wisely transformed the hardware company into a services and software company. The transformation worked and brought IBM back to growth for nearly 2 decades. But the roller coaster continued. In the 2010s, IBM missed the cloud. In 2006, a new rival, Amazon, respectively AWS, Amazon Web Services, created a new market. Respectively, they started the so-called hyperscale cloud business. All of a sudden, IT infrastructure was available through the cloud. CPU and storage capabilities were available with a click, and you just paid when you used it. Soon after, Google in 2008 and Microsoft in 2010 followed. Google with Google Cloud and Microsoft with Azure. While these 3 companies invested billions in their global cloud infrastructures and networks, IBM moved too slowly, set some wrong priorities, and fell behind. The main reasons? IBM hesitated to cannibalize its still profitable legacy business and prioritized areas like Watson AI that didn't scale as expected. What we can learn from it is this: see the shift early, disrupt yourself before others do, and move decisively to where the future value is. A major opportunity to IBM to recapture their leading role may lie in quantum computing, but that race is still wide open. Let me summarize the essence. Innovate in areas that customers truly value. Build a platform you can control and leverage network effects if possible. Shape a culture that develops and attracts talent. And if you see a major shift coming, adapt and act decisively. And this is maybe the most important lesson we can learn from IBM. Not just for companies, even for our lives. Our ability to adapt is a key success factor. But for now, if you want to learn more about the science behind the high-performance habits, I recommend you this video here. And otherwise, thank you for watching, and I look forward to see you again soon.